The presence of God. The physical presence of the infinite is the reality of the material universe. The mind presence of deity must be determined by the depth of individual intellectual experience and by the evolutionary personality level. The spiritual presence of divinity must of necessity be differential in the universe. It is determined by the spiritual capacity of receptivity and by the degree of the consecration of the creature's will to the doing of the divine will. God lives in every one of his spirit-born sons. The paradise sons always have access to the presence of God. The right hand of Father and all of his creature personalities have access to the bosom of the Father. This refers to the personality circuit whenever, wherever, and however contacted or otherwise entails personal, self-conscious contact and communion with the Universal Father, whether at the central abode or at some other designated place, as on one of the 7 sacred spheres of paradise. The divine presence cannot, however, be discovered anywhere in nature or even in the lives of God-knowing mortals so fully and so certainly as in your attempted communion with the indwelling mystery monitor, the Paradise Thought Adjuster. What a mistake to dream of God far off in the skies when the Spirit of the Universal Father lives within your own mind. It is because of this God fragment that indwells you that you can hope, as you progress in harmonizing with the Adjuster's spiritual leadings, more fully to discern the presence and transforming power of those other spiritual influences that surround you and impinge upon you, but do not function as an integral part of you. The fact that you are not intellectually conscious of close and intimate contact with the indwelling Adjuster does not in the least disprove such an exalted experience. The proof of fraternity with the divine Adjuster consists wholly in the nature and extent of the fruits of the Spirit which are yielded in the life experience of the individual believer. By their fruits you shall know them. It is exceedingly difficult for the meagerly spiritualized material mind of mortal man to experience marked consciousness of the spirit activities of such divine entities as the Paradise Adjusters. As the soul of joint mind and adjusted creation becomes increasingly existent, there also evolves a new phase of soul consciousness which is capable of experiencing the presence and of recognizing the spirit leadings and other supermaterial activities of the mystery monitors. The entire experience of Adjuster communion is one involving moral status, mental motivation, and spiritual experience. The self-realization of such an achievement is mainly, though not exclusively, limited to the realms of soul consciousness, but the proofs are forthcoming and abundant in the manifestation of the fruits of the Spirit in the lives of all such inner spirit contractors. Paper 3. The Attributes of God. God is everywhere present. The Universal Father rules the circle of eternity. but he rules in the local universes in the persons of his paradise creator sons, even as he bestows life through these sons. Quote, God has given us eternal life, and this life is in his sons. Unquote. These creator sons of God are the personal expression of himself and the sectors of time into the children of the whirling planets of the evolving universes of space. The highly personalized sons of God are clearly discernible by the lower orders of created intelligences, and so do they compensate for the invisibility of the infinite and therefore less discernible Father. The paradise creator sons of the universal Father are a revelation of an otherwise invisible being, invisible because of the absoluteness and infinity inherent in the circle of eternity and in the personalities of the paradise deities. Creatorship is hardly an attribute of God, it is rather the aggregate of his acting nature. And this universal function of creatorship is eternally manifested as it is conditioned and controlled by all the coordinated attributes of the infinite and divine reality of the first source and center. We sincerely doubt whether any one characteristic of the divine nature can be regarded as being antecedent to the others, but if such were the case, then the creatorship nature of deity would take precedence over all other natures, activities, and attributes. And the creatorship of deity culminates in the universal truth of the fatherhood of God. Paper 5. God's relation to the individual. If the finite mind of man is unable to comprehend how so great and so majestic a God as the universal Father can descend from his eternal abode in infinite perfection to fraternize with the individual human creature, then must such a finite intellect rest assurance of divine fellowship upon the truth of the fact that an actual fragment of the living God resides within the intellect of every normal-minded and morally conscious Urantia mortal. The indwelling thoughts adjusters are a part of the eternal deity of the Paradise Father. Man does not have to go farther than his own inner experience of the soul's contemplation of this spiritual reality presence to find God and attempt communion with him. God has distributed the infinity of his eternal nature throughout the existential realities of his 6 absolute coordinates, but he may, at any time, make direct personal contact with any part or phase or kind of creation through the agency of his pre-personal fragments. And the eternal God has also reversed to himself the prerogative of bestowing personality upon the divine creators and the living creatures of the universe of universes, while he has further reserved the prerogative of maintaining direct and parental contact with all these personal beings through the personality circuit. Attributes of the Eternal Son. The Eternal Son motivates the spirit level of cosmic reality. The spiritual power of the Son is absolute in relation to all universe actualities. He exercises perfect control over the interassociation of all undifferentiated spirit energy and over all actualized spirit reality through his absolute grasp of spirit gravity. All pure, unfragmented spirit and all spiritual beings and values are responsive to the infinite drawing power of the primal Son of Paradise. And if the eternal future should witness the appearance of an unlimited universe, the spirit gravity and the spirit power of the original Sun will be found wholly adequate for the spiritual control and effective administration of such a boundless creation. The Sun is omnipotent only in the spiritual realm. In the eternal economy of universe administration, wasteful and needless repetition of function is never encountered. The deities are not given to useless duplication of universe ministry. The omnipresence of the original Sun constitutes the spiritual unity of the universe of universes. The spiritual cohesion of all creation rests upon the everywhere active presence of the divine spirit of the eternal Sun. When we conceive of the Father's spiritual presence, we find it difficult to differentiate it in our thinking from the spiritual presence of the eternal Son. The Spirit of the Father is eternally resident in the Spirit of the Son. The Father must be spiritually omnipresent, but such omnipresence appears to be inseparable from the everywhere spirit activities of the eternal Son. We do, however, believe that in all situations of Father-Son presence of dual spiritual nature, the Spirit of the Son is coordinate with the Spirit of the Father. In his contact with personality, the Father acts in the personality circuit. In his personal and detectable contact with spiritual creation, he appears in the fragments of the totality of his deity, and these Father fragments have a solitary, unique, and exclusive function wherever and whenever they appear in the universes. In all such situations, the Spirit of the Son is coordinate with the spiritual function of the fragmental presence of the Universal Father. Spiritually, the Eternal Son is omnipresent. The Spirit of the Eternal Son is most certainly with you and around you, but not within you and a part of you like the mystery monitor. The indwelling Father fragment adjusts the human mind to progressively divine attitudes, whereupon such an ascending mind becomes increasingly responsive to the spiritual drawing power of the all-powerful spirit gravity circuit of the second source and center. The original Son is universally and spiritually self-conscious. In wisdom, the Son is the full equal of the Father. In the realms of knowledge, omniscience, we cannot distinguish between the first and second sources, like the Father. The Son knows all. He is never surprised by any universe event. He comprehends the end from the beginning. The Father and the Son really know the number and whereabouts of all the spirits and spiritualized beings in the universe of universes. Not only does the Son know all things by virtue of his own omnipresence. Paper 6, Section 3, Ministry of the Father's Love. The Son shares the justice and righteousness of the Trinity, but overshadows these divinity traits by the infinite personalization of the Father's love and mercy. The Son is the revelation of divine love to the universes. As God is love, so the Son is mercy. The Son cannot love more than the Father, but he can show mercy to creatures in one additional way, for he not only is a primal creator like the Father, but he is also the eternal Son of that same Father, thereby sharing in the sonship experience of all other sons of the universal Father. The eternal Son is the great mercy minister to all creation. Mercy is the essence of the Son's spiritual character. The mandates of the eternal Son as they go forth over the spirit circuits of the second source and center are keyed in tones of mercy. To comprehend the love of the eternal Son, you must first perceive its divine source, the Father, who is love, and then behold the unfolding of this infinite affection in the far-flung ministry of the infinite spirits and his almost limitless host of ministering personalities. The ministry of the eternal Son is devoted to the revelation of the God of love to the universe of universes. This divine Son is not engaged in the ignoble task of trying to persuade his gracious Father to love his lowly creatures and to show mercy to the wrongdoers of time. How wrong to envisage the eternal Son as appealing to the universal Father to show mercy to his lowly creatures on the material worlds of space. Such concepts of God are crude and grotesque. Rather should you realize that all the merciful ministrations of the sons of God are a direct revelation of the Father's heart of universal love and infinite compassion. The Father's love is the real and eternal source of the Son's mercy. God is love, the Son is mercy. Mercy is applied love, the Father's love in action in the person of his eternal Son. The love of this universal Son is likewise universal. As love is comprehended on a sex planet, the love of God is more comparable to the love of a father, while the love of the eternal Son is more like the affection of a mother. Crude indeed are such illustrations, but I employ them in the hope of conveying to the human mind the thought that there is a difference, not in divine content, but in quality and technique of expression between the love of the Father and the love of the Son. Paper 9, Section 2. The Omnipresent Spirit. God is Spirit in a threefold sense. He himself is Spirit. In his Son he appears as Spirit without qualification. In the conjoint actor, as Spirit allied with mind. And in addition to these spiritual realities, we think we discern levels of experiential spirit phenomena, the spirits of the Supreme Being, ultimate deity, and deity absolute. The infinite Spirit is just as much a complement of the eternal Son as the Son is a complement of the universal Father. The eternal Son is spiritualized personalization of the Father. The infinite Spirit is a personalized spiritualization of the eternal Son and the universal Father. There are many untrammeled lines of spiritual force and sources of supermaterial power linking the people of Urantia directly with the deities of paradise, There exists the connection of the thought adjusters direct with the Universal Father, the widespread influence of the spiritual gravity urge of the Eternal Son, and the spiritual presence of the conjoined Creator. There is a difference in function between the Spirit of the Son and the Spirit of the Spirit. The third person in his spiritual ministry may function as mind plus spirit or as spirit alone. In addition to these paradise presences, Urantians benefit by the spiritual influences and activities of the local and super-universe, with their almost endless array of loving personalities who ever lead the true of purpose and the honest of heart upward and inward towards the ideals of divinity and the goal of supreme perfection. The presence of the universal spirit of the Eternal Son, we know, we can unmistakably recognize it. The presence of the infinite spirit, the third person of deity, even mortal man may know, for material creatures can actually experience the beneficence of this divine influence, which functions as the Holy Spirit of local universe bestowed upon the races of mankind. Human beings can also in some degree become conscious of the adjuster, the impersonal presence of the Universal Father. These divine spirits which work for man's uplifting and spiritualization all act in unison and in perfect cooperation. They are as one in the spiritual operation of the plans of mortal ascension and perfect attainment. Paper 5, Section 3, True Worship. Though the paradise deities, from the universe standpoint, are as one, in their spiritual relations with such beings as inhabit Urantia, they are also three distinct and separate persons. There is a difference between the Godheads in the matter of personal appeals, communion, and other intimate relations. In the highest sense, we worship the Universal Father and Him only. True, we can and do worship the Father as He is manifested in His created sons, but it is the Father, directly or indirectly, who is worshipped and adored. Supplications of all kinds belong to the realm of the Eternal Son and the Son's spiritual organization. Prayers, all formal communications, everything except adoration and worship of the Universal Father are matters that concern a local universe. They do not ordinarily proceed out of the realm of the jurisdiction of a Creator Son. But worship is undoubtedly encircuited and dispatched to the person of the Creator by the function of the Father's personality circuit. We further believe that such registry of the homage of an adjusted indwelt creature is facilitated by the Father's Spirit's presence. There exists a tremendous amount of evidence to substantiate such a belief, and I know that all orders of Father fragments are empowered to register the bona fide adoration of their subjects acceptably in the presence of the Universal Father. The adjusters undoubtedly also utilize direct pre-personal channels of communication with God, and they are likewise able to utilize the spirit gravity circuits of the Eternal Son. Worship is for its own sake. Prayer embodies a self or creature interest element. That is the great difference between worship and prayer. There is absolutely no self-request or other element of personal interest in true worship. We simply worship God for what we comprehend Him to be. Worship asks nothing and expects nothing for the worshipper. We do not worship the Father because of anything we may derive from such veneration. We render such devotion and engage in such worship as a natural and spontaneous reaction to the recognition of the Father's matchless personality, and because of His lovable nature and adorable attributes. The moment the element of self-interest intrudes upon worship, that instant devotion translates from worship to prayer, and more appropriately should be directed to the person of the Eternal Son or the Creator Son. But in practical religious experience, there exists no reason why prayer should not be addressed to God the Father as a part of true worship. When you deal with the practical affairs of your daily life, you are in the hands of the Spirit personalities having origin in the third source and center. You are cooperating with the agencies of the conjoined actor, and so it is. You worship God, pray to and commune with the Son, and work out the details of your earthly sojourn in connection with the intelligences of the Infinite Spirit operating on your world and throughout your universe. The Creator or Sovereign Sons who preside over the destinies of the local universes stand in the place of both the Universal Father and the Eternal Son of Paradise. These universe sons receive in the name of the Father the adoration of worship and give ear to the pleas of their petitioning subjects throughout their respective creations. To the children of a local universe, a Michael's Son is, to all practical intents and purposes, God. He is the local universe personification of the Universal Father and the Eternal Son. The Infinite Spirit maintains personal contact with the children of these realms through the universe spirits, the administrative and creative associates of the Paradise Creator Sons. Sincere worship connotes the mobilization of all the powers of the human personality under the dominance of the evolving soul and subject to the divine directionization of the associated thought adjuster. The mind of material limitations can never become highly conscious of the real significance of true worship. Man's realization of the reality of worship experience is chiefly determined by the developmental status of his evolving immortal soul. The spiritual growth of the soul takes place wholly independently of the intellectual self-consciousness. The worship experience consists in the sublime attempt of the betrothed adjuster to communicate to the Divine Father the inexpressible longings and the unutterable aspirations of the human soul, the conjoined creation of the God-seeking mortal mind and the God-revealing immortal adjuster. Worship is, therefore, the act of the material mind assenting to the attempt of its spiritualizing self under the guidance of the associated spirit to communicate with God as a faith son of the Universal Father. The mortal mind consents to worship. The immortal soul craves and initiates worship. The divine adjuster present conducts such worship in behalf of the mortal mind and the evolving immortal soul. True worship, and the last analysis, becomes an experience realized on 4 cosmic levels: the intellectual, the monorontial, the spiritual, and the personal, the consciousness of mind, soul, and spirit, and their unification in personality. Paper 8. The Infinite Spirit. Back in eternity, when the Universal Father's first infinite and absolute thought finds in the Eternal Son such a perfect and adequate word for its divine expression, there ensues the supreme desire of both thought God and the Word God for a universal and infinite agent of mutual expression and combined action. In the dawn of eternity, both the Father and the Son become infinitely cognizant of their mutual interdependence, their eternal and absolute oneness, and therefore do they enter into an infinite and everlasting covenant of divine partnership. This never-ending compact is made for the execution of their united concepts throughout all of the circle of eternity. And ever since this eternity event, the Father and the Son continue in this divine union. We are now face to face with the eternity origin of the Infinite Spirit, the third person of deity. The very instant that God the Father and God the Son conjointly conceive an identical and infinite action, the execution of an absolute thought plan, that very moment, the Infinite Spirit springs full-fledgedly into existence. And thus reciting the order of the origin of the deities, I do so merely to enable you to think of their relationship. In reality, they are all three existent from eternity. They are existential. They are without beginning or ending of days. They are coordinate, supreme, ultimate, absolute, and infinite. They are and always have been and ever shall be. And they are three distinctly individualized but eternally associated persons: God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit.